I want to talk about something today that doesn't get talked about enough in brain injury recovery or trauma. It's not about deficits. It's not about what you lost. It's about identity. Because here's the thing nobody tells you after a TBI and trauma. Your capacity changes. Your character doesn't have to. Let me say that again, because it matters more than almost anything else I've learned in the last 34 years. Your capacity, how much you can hold, how much you can focus, how much you can actually do in a single day, that changes. Sometimes overnight. Sometimes it keeps shifting for years. And just because you think you've adapted, it shifts again. Fatigue hits differently after a brain injury. It's not, I stayed up too late, I'm tired. It's a wall. Memory gets unreliable in ways that are embarrassing before they're anything else. A room with too much noise, too many conversations happening at once, too much light, it can wipe you out in ways that never used to. In a way people who haven't lived it simply can't picture. I know because I lived every part of that. 20 years old, and overnight the version of myself I'd spent 2 decades building was gone. Not metaphorically, actually gone. I had to relearn what my own limits were, and I had to do it while grieving the person I used to be. But here's what I eventually understood, and it took me years to get here. Who you are underneath all of that. That's still yours to decide. Nobody takes that from you, not the injury, not the recovery, not the bad days, not the doctors who can only tell you what's wrong, never who you still get to be. Focus is one of the biggest things TBI survivors lose, and it's rarely talked about within the seriousness it deserves. You used to be able to hold 5 things in your head at once: work, relationships, plans, a conversation while you're also thinking 3 steps ahead. Now maybe it's one thing, maybe it's none, some days. Maybe you walk into a room and forget why you're there within 10 seconds. And here's what that forces you to confront, whether you're ready or not. When your focus shrinks, you have to get ruthless about where it goes. Not because you're weak, because you finally can't afford to waste it. Every single person who has real focus to spare gets to be careless with it. You don't get that luxury anymore, and that's not a punishment. It's clarity most people never get forced into until it's too late. You don't have room anymore for things or people that don't serve who you're actually trying to become. That's not a loss. I want you to actually hear that. That is not a loss. That is the most honest starting point most people will never reach, because most people never have to. So before we talk about anything else, habits, routines, 5-step plans, we have to start here with character, with who you are when almost everything else about how you function has changed underneath you. So here's the question I ask myself constantly, and I'd ask you to actually sit with it, not just nod along. Who do I want to be given what I have now? Not who I used to be before the injury. Not the guy who could work 16-hour days and still show up sharp. Not who I wish I still was, because that guy isn't walking back through the door. Who I want to be, starting with exactly where I'm standing right now, with the capacity I actually have today, not the capacity I had 5 years ago or wish I'd have 5 years from now. And once you know that, the next question matters just as much, maybe more. Who are you spending your time around? Because the people around you, more than motivation, more than willpower, more than any 5-step framework you'll find online, determine which direction you actually go. Not what you post about wanting, who you're actually standing next to. Think about it, honestly, right now, not later, not who inspires you when you scroll past their content for 3 seconds and feel something, who actually has access to your time, your energy, your attention on a normal Tuesday. Who are you texting back? Who are you making space for? If the person you want to become already exists somewhere, in someone you already know, in a community you've heard about but haven't joined, in a person you've never met but follow closely and respect. Get close to that. Study them. Learn how they actually think, not just what they post for everyone else to see. If you're not already connected to people like that, that's step 1. Now, not step 5, after you've fixed everything else about yourself first. Step 1 today. Because here's the part that's specific to us, to survivors, to anyone whose capacity has genuinely changed. With a smaller reserve of focus, you cannot afford to be surrounded by noise. You don't have the bandwidth left over to filter out negativity, chaos, people who take from you and give nothing back. Every person like that costs you more now than they ever did before. You need signal, not noise. People who get it without you having to explain the parts that are hardest to explain. People who are further down the same road than you are, who can tell you what actually helped instead of what sounds good. People who won't waste the limited attention you have to give because they understand exactly how precious it is, because they're protecting the same thing in themselves. That's not cutting people off out of spite, and it's not about being cold to people who love you. It's about being honest, maybe for the first time, that your energy is finite now. Not so where it goes has to be intentional, on purpose, every single day, not left up to whoever happens to be the loudest in the room. Here's the last piece, and it's the hardest one, so stay with me. Once you know who you want to be and who you want around you, you have to turn the same honesty on yourself, on your own character. No excuses, no injury as a shield to hide behind. What are you feeding? What are you tolerating? Because recovery isn't just physical therapy. It's not just cognitive exercises and doctor's appointments and tracking symptoms in an app on your phone. All of that matters. None of it is the whole picture. It's the character work every single day, whether you feel like doing it or not. Cut what doesn't serve who you're becoming. The habits that numb you instead of moving you forward. The self-talk that keeps calling you broken instead of rebuilding. The comparisons to who you used to be that keep you grieving a version of yourself instead of building the next one. Feed what does. The discipline, even in small doses. The honesty, especially when it's uncomfortable. The people who challenge you to keep going instead of letting you quietly coast on excuses everyone else is too polite to name. That's it. That's the whole practice. I'm not going to dress it up with more steps than it actually has. It's simple to say out loud. It is not easy to live. And anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you something. And this is exactly why I built the Comeback Campfire. Not for information. You can find information about brain injury recovery anywhere. Articles, YouTube videos, medical studies, all of it a click away. Information was never the actual problem, and it never will be. I built it for people. People who understand what it's like to have less capacity and refuse to have less character. People who won't pity you for what changed and won't rush you past the parts that still hurt either. People who will have real conversations with you about where your focus should actually go and what to genuinely try next, what to finally let go of, because they've asked themselves these same exact questions at 3 in the morning more than once. Not a course you sit through alone in silence, checking boxes nobody sees. A fire you sit around with people doing the same hard work you are at the same time you're doing it, so you're never carrying it by yourself. If that's what you actually need right now, not more information, but real people who get it without a long explanation, come find your seat. SandroMarino.com, and I will see you there. Let's go.